Welcome to Unlock 360, the podcast for champions of public education. Here we explore the connection between leadership, teaching, and learning, and reveal the keys to getting better results for all students. Each episode highlights a change maker who's turning vision into action and creating schools where both educators and students thrive. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Wendy York Davoud, and joining us today, we have Superintendent Eric Foister of West Memphis Schools in Arkansas. Welcome, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you and another leader from Arkansas joining us. We've had a couple others on the show, so it's great to circle back to your wonderful state. Will you start us off just sharing a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Eric Foister. I'm the superintendent of schools here at West Memphis, and blessed to be here, thankful to be here. I started December of 2024, so this is started my first full second year, just completed my first full year. Before that, I was an assistant superintendent in Wynne, Arkansas, for 3.5 years, and before that, I was assistant superintendent in Todd County, Kentucky. So I originally from Indiana. My professional career as a principal, assistant principal, director of special ed. I've pretty much done it all in the admin world, and I came from Clarksville, Tennessee. I remarried, and that's why I moved to Arkansas. Never in a million years did I ever think I'd be in Arkansas. Never in a million years that I ever thought I would be a superintendent, let alone here at West Memphis. But just blessed from the background I have. I got into education. I was a basketball coach, so I played basketball in college from Indiana, and found out that I wanted to be a head coach. Well, at the time, I had a degree in biology, but I didn't have a teaching license. So I went to the state of Florida because at that point in time, I'm old. At that point in time, if you had a 4-year degree and a pulse, they give you a teaching license. And I found out that I had a love for teaching kids just as much as I had a love for coaching the game of basketball. So that transitioned me into teaching, got into, taught science, special ed, and then just kind of always got asked, hey, would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? And so never really sought out, it wasn't a goal of mine to be a principal, let alone an assistant superintendent, let alone superintendent. It was just, I'm blessed, and God had a plan for me. I didn't know what it was, but every opportunity was a challenge, and I wanted to take advantage of it. And it just happened to lead me to my greatest challenge, but also the greatest job, best job I've ever had in my life right here at West Memphis.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I can't wait to dig into that some more.
Yeah.
I also want to know just, you kind of mentioned that you loved coaching and then learned that you loved, and really enjoyed teaching as well. Tell us more about that. What really inspired you or sparked that joy?
So anytime I just believe and I just experience, it was always about the relationship with the kids, and to be able to see them as a coach. I got to see a small group grow, not only as individuals, but grow as a team and learn how to work with each other, learn how to deal with adversity. And then when I found out when I started teaching, I could do the same thing and I can affect more kids. So not just my team. I coached, I was a head basketball coach 16 years, very blessed, had 20 some kids play Division I, and I'm very blessed and all those things. But it was more about those relationships and learning that teaching, a good teacher is going to be a good coach. And a lot of times a good coach it could be a very good teacher. And
Right.
I learned that it was really about the relationships with the kids and seeing them excel, not just in the game of basketball.
I agree with that, and others have spoken to it, but I don't know that we've ever dug into it. So what is it aside from the relationships, what is it about strong coaches that you think makes strong teachers or educational leaders and vice versa?
So I'll just tell you my expectation for our coaches here. You better be an expert in building relationship with kids. Number one, you are a relationship expert, because if you can't do that, you can't coach. You cannot
Right.
coach if you can't build a relationship with the kid. And it's
Right.
almost like that with a teacher. How many times, and I'm sure you've sent, and I'm a secondary world, how many times that you've dealt with teachers that love the content more than they love the kid,
Right.
especially in a secondary level. So, but to answer your question, I think from a coaching standpoint, if you truly love the kid and want to see them succeed, your passion, your being a teacher just coincides with that. The planning. I always tell people all the time, funny story I always tell is, we won a game, we were behind, and at halftime we come back and won, and the teachers next day saw me in the lounge and all, hey, what speech did you give them? And I looked at them, I said, do you stand on top of your desk and do a rah-rah speech every time you have a quiz or a test? And they looked at me like I was crazy. I said, I don't either. It's all about the preparation of the practice before the game. If I prepared for the game, we'll deal with adversity and go through that. I don't have to motivate. I don't have to do a rah-rah speech. It's about that preparation. If I don't have them prepared, if they're not prepared, we're not going to win. And it's the same thing translates to kids academically. If we don't plan, we don't follow the lesson, hold kids to grade level standards, you're not going to have the outcome. And you could stand on top of your desk and sound the alarm, but we all know it's all about the planning process and the execution in the long run. And I think that's
Yeah.
what makes good coaches good teachers.
One of the things that I have seen also is, you know, we know that in teaching, it one of the, best practices is, like, gradually releasing that responsibility where, you give kids the information, you show them how, you explain what's expected, they understand success, they practice together, and then they have, time to practice with support, and then it's time, for them to show what they know or how they can perform, and I think there's something about the athletic world that maybe because it's physical, like, it's kind of automatically built in that
Yeah,
way,
sure.
and it works, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
You described it beautifully. That's how good coaches go through things.
Right, exactly. Okay, so here it is, December 2024, and you are joining a new district and, getting to learn and know the history of the district and where they were, where they are now, so will you shed some light on that for us?
Yeah, we're pretty proud of where we're at, quite frankly. So I started December, and again, we have a big district. I had one assistant superintendent who was retiring, and that's it. I had one person in the entire district office that had anything to do with instruction, and she had no teeth, no accountability. She was just our literacy person. So a district our size, we had nobody over instruction. So I've been fortunate and asked to speak at different superintendent symposium. I'm getting ready to speak in Hot Springs on Monday about some of the things we did. And I always challenge people to look at your organizational chart by the district. It tells you what your priorities are at the district. If you have a bunch of people that are not in instruction, that tells me that your priority is really not instruction. So the board gave me over the spring. I just kind of sat back and looked at it. Uh, told the principals that we were going to start expecting to be instructional leaders. So we have 6 elementary schools. At that time, when I started, they all used different curriculum. They all had different bell schedules. They all operated in silos. Not their fault. That's just current reality. That's just how things operated. The 2 middle schools, junior highs, same thing. Different schedules, different everybody acted. So the first thing I did was starting in the fall, where they allowed me to build my own district level instructional team. So I built a structure from the top down. So I hired a chief academic officer for secondary, chief academic officer for elementary. And I purposely never met these guys, didn't have any. So, but I posted the position. I wanted somebody that was a turnaround principal that knew the work of how to change and sustain success. So both of them are former principals of very highly regarded, very recognized from Memphis, and came over to West Memphis. So one of them actually
Okay,
Memphis. So we increased our content specialists. So now we have a literacy specialist, a math specialist, science specialist to push down. We have instructional coaches, both math and literacy, in every building except one. So we've built the structure for support for teachers. And I always say, if I can't hold somebody accountable for something, I haven't trained them on what to do. So last year, we had a goal, and it's called the Power of 10 goal. Anybody wants to research this, they could just do Power of 10 in West Memphis Schools. It'll pop up. Matter of fact, it'll pop up AI and give you all the things. So we had a campaign. Our goal was to increase our achievement by 10% or proficiency. I know there's different states, so different terminology, but our
sure.
proficiency at every grade level, every subject area, and we did it. We did it in math and reading. So almost doubled. Well, we did double the state. The state as a whole, Arkansas increased, but we actually doubled the state average of our. Yeah. So we've tremendous amount of success with that, and teacher collective efficacy. For Hattie's work is the number one to show student success or achievement. That's the number one factor in this district. I've never been a part of a district that loves their kids more than this district. But with that love comes enabling. We never held those kids to grade level standards. We always we struggle with, the productive struggle and instruction, allow the kid to work through. We didn't do that. We helped them too much. And it was
Yeah,
out of love. It was in and so
sure.
but we're doing kids a disservice. So we implemented an instructional model. So you were talking about and working together. So the first thing we did is for this past year we did instructional model. We followed the EDI model, the I do, we do, you do type model. So and if you can't model what mastery looks like, you can't expect the kid to understand what mastery looks like. And it's a work in progress. So we put that in place, and we have an accountability structure now to where the expectation is we have, that you're going to teach grade levels. We're going to do our interim assessments. We're going to compare the data and show that, hey, do small groups. So I mean, and I can go on and on and on. So, but in 1 year, we 1 full year, we just blew it out of the park. And the Power of 10, like I said, it got massive uh, social media hits. I'm not a big social media guy, so we do a lot of videos with it. We do kids success videos with it, and it's a brand now. And so I've been fortunate, been asked to speak about a lot of different places, superintendent, board members, and we're pretty proud of it. So any listener out there, if you just, you look at Power of 10 at West Memphis Schools, it'll pop up and you'll see a lot of the different things that we did.
That sounds like a lot of progress in a short amount of time. It really does.
It's all about the people you have.
So let me recap. You come in and you really didn't have a team. There was just one assistant superintendent, and that person was retiring. That was really all you had to
That was
help
it.
lead instruction. Your board, your community, they give you they allow you to build a team.
Yep.
You create this team. By when was the team in place?
July 1 of last year.
Okay.
So this
So
is they're starting on their second full year here.
okay, so July 1st, 2025, here now you have a team in place and you get to work. Now, how does your team build develop that? I know it's a process, but how do you build that buy-in from, teachers and staff members or, administrators that have been part of the district and have been used to doing things the way they wanted to do it?
In all fairness, they were embraced. I and so when we shared this, off podcast, so to speak, off air, I'm used to saying sometimes, but so I was the sixth superintendent in a little over 2 years because of circumstances, and a lot of the board was a little radical at the time. I think it's a fair assessment. It stabilized, so I'm supportive. It's a great situation. But I think teachers, I call it professional PTSD. They had no direction, no sense of there was no focus on, and it's nobody's fault. It's just because of it's just I call it current reality. I don't like being critical of past, whatever. It's current reality. Current reality
Sure.
is they had no, so just by having some level of accountability and a vision of where we're going, and okay, and here's how we're going to do it, and here's the people that's going to help us. They really hopped on the train. They really did. You're always going to have change is hard, especially for educators. Always is.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the I always call creating the demand. The demand needs to be created for the change. If there's a demand for the change, people are going to hop on board. Well, the demand was created by the lack of stability and leadership over years, so they jumped on this. Now, like I said, nobody's ever going to be happy with everything. But I think if you polled our teachers, and I have polled them with some things, you're going to find that they're, 80 to 90% are on board with really happy with the direction, feeling great about where we're going. And that's important. That teacher collective efficacy that they truly believe these kids, because I don't think we had it till this past year. I think they felt like, oh, these kids, I think, this kid can't read, or we're 2 grade levels behind, or these parents, what all the excuses that we have for education for a kid not to be successful. I don't want I don't care where you're from. I don't care where you live. Every kid has an opportunity, and we've built those accountability structures and processes, and pretty proud of it.
Yeah, okay, I love this created demand. Just a fun new way to say it. I'm reminded of Cotter's research on leading change and that, you gotta create and communicate a vision. You've gotta, generate a sense of urgency, and so I like that, create a
Yeah.
demand, and have they know where we're headed, so that's awesome. Yes, makes perfect sense. The other piece that you spoke to around, developing that collective teacher efficacy, one of the things that we found is that that same impact can be replicated in terms of leader efficacy.
Sure can.
Can you tell us about, how are you and your team and how is West Memphis going about developing leaders?
So we have 2 processes. So, the first thing we do on our board week, so every time we have a board meeting on a Tuesday, we bring in the principals. We call it leadership week. And so we bring in once a month, and we bring in the principals, assistant principals, and our instructional coaches all with the same training. So everybody hears the same. So we all know communication is always an issue when you have when you have building level communication, district, all that stuff. So we did that 3 days in a row, all the same training. So by giving the principals more, because look, we had principals that have never been asked to be an instructional leader ever.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They started from scratch, and I rock their world, and they will tell you that. Every one of them will tell you that. And I brought a group. So BJ, one of the people that was so influential for me is my former superintendent, and that I bring him in. He was actually the Clarksville, Montgomery County superintendent. So anyway, I'll bring him in, BJ, and he comes in and helps. He helped me build this training before I got these other teams on board. So I started it in the spring, and then they helped me, and then I brought this leadership team on, and then we worked together and continued that. So that's the one thing we're doing is building the skill set of our principals that have never been, understanding how the curriculum works, understanding the EDI model, understanding like we had principals that were never in classrooms. We had principals not in planning meetings. We've taught them how to run a planning meeting to understand, look, you don't have to be a subject matter expert, but you better be an educational and ask the right questions. We trained them on that. So that's one thing we've done. So the other thing that we do here, and I think everybody's fighting this, I don't care what state, trying to find quality educators, teachers,
Sure.
leaders. So we developed our own leadership cohort. So if you want to go from teacher to an instructional coach, or maybe an instructional coach, an AP, or even an AP to a principal. So we had an application process, put them through an interview. We gave them a data set, and said, okay, what would you do if you were this person? And then we had 33 people apply. We took 8. I think it was 7 or 8. Took 8, and then once a month we met with them. And I met with the ones who going to go from AP to principals. I met with, and we'd go through. I'd give them scenarios, and my role was, okay, if this happened in your building, what would you do? I don't care what program or master's or doctorate or specialist. Some of that stuff doesn't prepare you for what you actually.
Exactly.
So I literally came up with scenarios that I dealt with as a principal, and we just talked through them. And I said, "There's no right or wrong answer here. I did this. I should have done this." So when we talk through, and it's more about the thought process. So I get to know how you think, not necessarily the decision, but how you came up with your decision. So those are the two biggest things that we're trying to develop leaders. And we end up moving up 4 of the leadership court positions, and the other ones probably more likely in the next year or 2 are going to move up as well. So we're excited about that.
That's super exciting. Yes, good stuff. And I love the scenarios. It's great. I'm wanting to ask, like, well, I guess I just will. Can you
Yeah.
give us an example? Give us an example scenario that you're
Yeah. So there was medicine taken out of the nurse's office. How would you go about investigating? And then I won't go into details, but you find out that an aide had access to it. So you have more than one person that could have had access. How do you go about that? And then if you do suspect, what do you tell the superintendent? What are you going to, and explain to him that, but that's one of them. Quite
that's
frankly,
good.
yeah. I mean, so we've had that one. We've had, you got an angry spouse coming because they got into it with his wife or husband or whatever it is, coming wanting to demanding to talk to their, so it's not a student situation, parent, it's a spouse with a teacher. How do you handle that? So, I mean, just certain things that we've dealt with. And it was good because they all like, and the best answer they gave me was, I don't know. And I said,
Yeah.
that, okay, that is
I
okay.
don't know.
So, and let's talk about the process, how we go through it. So I enjoy that a lot. So, and there's a whole, I mean, I'm old, so I can go back to things, we had an altercation with a teacher and a student. I suspected inappropriate relationships with staff and kids, all those things. How do you investigate it? How do you protect the employee's rights? How do you protect the student? Number one, employee rights, communicate. I mean, just there's a lot in schools today that you can't be prepared for.
That is so very true, and I was just thinking, there's so much criticism around, from the outside world around public education and things that go on and how we do things, and people have no idea some of the real challenges.
The other part of that is we have an obligation by law. Whether if an employee is under investigation, I can't tell anybody what that investigation is.
Exactly.
I can't go into deep. So, when, and we all see it, right? Something happens in a school district and they say, well, this person did this, this, or this, and they demand an answer from them. I can't give them an answer. So I can't. So, and I can't even share with the board. And in Arkansas, the termination hearing, the board is the jury. I'm the prosecutor. I present the information.
Interesting.
So their employee rep is the defense. So if we have a personnel issue, I can't that I think is going to go to termination. I can't share anything with the board. I have to protect the board in that. And the other part, protect the employee as well. So, and that means I
Sure.
can't share anything publicly either. So, and
Of
we all
course.
know, I mean, all you gotta do is click on news, and there's something going on in this country right now. People being put on admin leave. Well, why? Well, we can't tell you why. So, but it's a different world today. Different world.
It makes things, it can make things challenging to navigate as a leader, right? Because you have people who don't understand that and who are almost demanding answers, but you're like, "I can't."
There's no almost.
Hands are
They're
tied,
demanding.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are,
Yeah.
right, okay, yeah. The other thing I thought of, back to the power of 10 and, building this buy-in or this commitment or this, like, really wanting to be part of the cause, I know success breeds success, right? So having this goal that your team, your staff, that you all met for students, that makes that goes a long way.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little story about how that really came to fruition. We had the goal like everybody does. Like every school district has their goals. You fill out stuff, send it, school improvement plan. But look, a lot of times it is compliance. It is not.
Sure.
I wanted something that was real, that was attainable. So in January, I met with some K2 teachers, and I asked them. I said, "Okay, what's our district goal?" Only half of them could tell me. That's
Exactly, okay, I've been
all.
here.
So I'm like, mm-mm. So I came back to our communications. I'm fortunate. I have an unbelievable team. I come back to him. I said, okay, we got to get this branded. We got this communicated, and we got to get this out. And so we started doing videos. We started doing campaigns. And the biggest thing that once teachers understood, like if I'm an elementary teacher, how we measured is if I have 10 kids if I have 20 kids in a class, and 10 kids come to be proficient, all I want you to do is move two more, keep those 10 and move two more. That's 10%. That's doable. That's attainable. So as a teacher, I could look at that, man, I can get this kid and I can get this kid moved. So then it's more focused. And I think that was a huge, huge part. So where it wasn't overwhelming, everybody's like, shoot, with these two kids, this class. I mean, and then it was attainable and man, it got competitive. And so the other thing that we have created here that I'm pretty proud of, and it starts this year. I created my own merit-based pay for teachers.
Tell us about that, this is very interesting, yeah, I think our audience will appreciate more.
Yeah, so on top of Arkansas has a state one, and we had 21 teachers get that. So I've done some research, and you share with me your location. So, but where you live, so teacher salary schedules they don't work anymore. How in the world? So, and I'm just being real. That PE teacher gets paid the same amount as that third grade teacher busting their butt with maybe doing two subjects, or in some cases four in some buildings. So that's not. I don't. So my original thought was, we had some money. It's called unbudgeted revenue coming from a CD. It's 400 and some thousand. So I'm taking that thousand. It's going to the teachers. So what we're doing is it's kind of complicated, but the unique thing for us, I don't care what you teach, you could get money. So this
Okay.
isn't for the content teacher. It could be the PE teacher. It could be the special ed teacher. It could be the dyslexic therapist or the interventionist. So I broke it down to simplify. If I'm a content teacher, I get three parts. If I'm an interventionist, I get 1.5 parts. And if I'm a gen ed teacher, I only get like half. Or so it's broken in two ways. 65% of the money, if you as a teacher do your 10%, you meet the power of 10 goal, then it's 65% of what's allotted to you. In
Okay.
Arkansas, growth scores, the VAM value added measurement. If that's above 80, then you get the 35%. So maybe you grew your kids but didn't meet your power of 10 for achievement, you can still get money. If you get your 10% achievement, you're more than likely going to get your VAM score, growth score, you're going to get that too. So it's significant. So if 25 teachers get it, they're going to get 20 grand a piece. So if 100, I mean, we're going to split it up, whatever it is. So we're excited about that. We're probably really one of the only, I don't know if you other districts, but I did a little research. No one else is doing this, and we're working with our personnel policy committee on the rules and regs of what. From a content teacher, it's easy. Intervention teacher, it's easy because of direct contact. But if I'm a PE teacher, how am I going to get it? So how we've kind of defined it is 45 minutes a week. You got to choose a grade level and a content area, and you got to work within. Maybe you do that math lesson in your PE class, 10 minutes a day all week. So we're going to let them figure that out. So it's a work in progress, but we're excited about it.
Yeah, that is so exciting. So anyone that may be listening in, and most of our audience, they are
Yeah.
educational leaders. If you this is something you may want to know more about, I'm sure Eric would welcome a
Yeah, please.
conversation.
Be more than happy. And I'm going to tell you, it was a morale booster. It was a morale booster. My original thought was to take that money and give it to our tested subject areas, to be honest, our K2 all the way up, because they work hard. And I got some pushback. So I stepped back and reevaluated, talked with the board more. So, there was some like high school. If I'm a CTE, well, I'm a tested subject in CTE. Why can't, why should be a
Yeah,
part of it? And I get that. I totally get that. But we're not held accountable like we are for our state test
sure.
scores. But I'd be more than happy. Shoot me an email, give me a call. I mean, we're pretty open around here. We steal things from each other. That's what we do. So
That's right.
educators, I stole this model from the state, to be honest, how they do theirs, and just created it here.
That's awesome. Yes, thank you for that. That's cool. I could see. I'm just like picturing the change process, and you know I'm coming back to Cotter's, but really any model, like there's a piece there where you have to celebrate wins and, have some excitement and some joy, and so that morale boosting, this effort is really cool.
Yeah, we're excited about it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Eric, tell us, where is West Memphis? So I kinda think we kinda know where you are, where you were, where you are now. Where are you
Yeah.
heading?
So, this was a very underperforming district. We Most of our schools were failing except for the high school, and one elementary, and pretty much the rest of the schools were D or Fs. And so our goal, and then so we got not this coming year, but for the spring of 28, our goal is to be at state average.
Okay.
So that's where we're trying to get to. We're getting close already with our big jump. So our letter grades in the state of Arkansas, just like most other states, they give you a letter grade based on these tests. Whether we agree
Yes.
with it, whether we agree it's fair, how can you judge? It doesn't matter to me. That's the rules we play by. I'm going to make sure we do our best to make these kids,
Right.
do the best. Um, so I anticipate every one of our buildings will go up one letter grade. Some may even go up two letter grades.
Okay.
So within 3 years after the spring of 28, we want every school a C or above and at state average. I think if we get to state average, that's where we'll be, and we are headed in that direction. And, I say this, there's a lot of meat left on the bone with some things for us to improve this upcoming year. I mean, with using the HQIM, um, use having our intervention model that we do, but there's still a long way to go.
All right, and I'm curious about that in terms of, the state of Arkansas and, um, the accountability measures, and when you something you shared there makes me, if I understood right, makes me think that you don't know for sure what their grades are yet from this past school year?
I have our scores, and so they're published in school scores too, but I have our scores, and the state released the overall average. So we have our scores compared to the state scores, but their algorithm, their process, I mean, we could figure it up, and we have, but most administrators on this call understand that there's a cut score that may change. So we may have made it the cut score for last year, but we don't know what the cut score is for this year. So there's
Okay.
no way to really predict. We could show that we're way above where we were last year. We don't
Yeah.
know what the score is from the state. And that'll come out here in August, September, I think.
Oh, okay, that was my next question. Okay, August, September.
One thing unique about Arkansas that floors everybody is our test is adaptive.
Okay.
And we got our results the next day. So we knew our results literally within, by the time they did some writing stuff, literally within a week. We didn't have to wait. Remember the old days? We had to wait. Sometimes you
Yeah.
didn't get it. Well, we get it immediate now.
Okay.
So that's a big thing. That's a
That's
big thing.
great. That's really good. And
Yeah.
then in terms of the state, accountability ratings, it kinda blows my mind, that we don't get them faster, but August, September isn't too bad. But there are some places that will not
It's all
that I
politics.
that will not know until, and then it's like, "Okay, it's November or December. We're already halfway in the year." Also, though, then there's the piece of, well, yes, it matters because that's the standard, and we might not like it or agree with it, and, but we may not be able to directly change it. Sure, we could lobby, or we could try to get involved and make changes, but it is what it is. How do we act on it? Is it like, I think, when it comes to test results, okay,
Yeah.
here's my cut score. What does that mean? And the states that have, assessment systems that really, I value those that really, do allow teachers, administrators to drill down and know what to do with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to get a score, it's another thing to understand that your score is low in this area because you're lacking these skills, and it's high in this area because you have these specific skills, and they connect to these standards.
Yeah.
And in some cases, states just aren't there with their assessment system, and
Agreed. So totally agree. So they do a good job of giving you the data. So in Arkansas, when I made the mention of that it's an adaptive test means 5 kids are taking it, they can all be on 5 different questions, and how they answer determines where they go. So here's the hard part for that. I can't pull up an individual student and tell you what standards they mastered. They don't have an individual or student report. I can do cohorts, groups, and say, okay, these groups of kids struggled in this area, just what you were talking about, that's tied to this standard, but I can't do an item analysis standard by kid.
that's so
So
interesting because
yes.
because I'm thinking of another assessment system, in a different state, and in that case, it's the almost the opposite, which is also not as helpful. Like, we need
Yeah.
both. We need to
Yes.
know, as a school, as a grade level, as a district, we should be able to see trends and patterns to know how to focus and where to
Yep.
develop and grow. We also need to know by individual student. We need both, and so it's interesting that you have this one, but not that one, and others have, yeah, we'll
So
have
we've embraced the AI era, and I know that's a
okay.
hot topic right now in
It sure
education
is.
um, so and I shared this with you before. So we're blessed here. We have a very large $4 billion Google data center that's gonna be about a mile and a half away from here. We're probably one of the only communities in the country right now that there's no pushback. We're blessed, and we are embracing them wholeheartedly. Um, but with that, we gotta look at education differently. So one of the things that I told the teachers last spring, I apologize to the teachers. I do some videos and did some things. I apologize, teachers, and here's why. And I read this first, so I gotta give credit. This was not my idea. I started reading this. I don't need to ask teachers to remember their why. If you don't know your why, I can't help you. But what I can do as a leader is to give you more support and give you time back to focus on kids. So in the education world, we are now asking teachers to turn this in, turn that in, lesson plans, it's burdensome. So we're not requiring lesson plans anymore.
Okay,
So our, what we call lesson internalization that's done in a planning meeting. But here's what we're done. We have partnered with an AI group it's Magic School AI. So most people heard that from. So we are training our teachers along with Google for educators on how to save time to create check for understandings, bell ringers, how to create small groups. In Magic School AI, just what you talked about, we can put student data in there, and it'll break them down by small groups. Give you, I mean, however, if people are familiar with AI, the more you put in that chat bot, the more specific you are, the better results we have. It's going to save our teachers hours. And the burnout, I'm hoping they're pretty excited about it. So literally today, I just sent a staff email out. So Google has a Google for Educators, it's called Generative AI for Teachers,
okay,
and 2-hour certification that we're paying teachers to do.
that's
So
awesome.
it doesn't matter if you're a teacher, principal, librarian, counselor. If you work with kids, you do this 2-hour certification, you're going to get $200. You have to do it outside school. It's just something to get people. AI is scary for people. It's like Google. just came out, right? So
Yeah.
we're this is a way to generate the demand for our training from our Magic School AI, which will happen here in first part of the school year. So, way to give teachers back some time, give them tools to so they're not there till 6 o'clock at night grading things. They're not there to, so this is really an opportunity for us to jump on board with this and kind of lead that way.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And the other thing that, you and I chatted a little bit before the show about that I'm hoping you'll shed some light on for our audience is the partnership that you have with Google and um, creating pathway for kids.
Yeah. So we're it's ongoing. So, but I'll share a couple things. So, um, we will be the first school in the country that they are providing an instructor with the curriculum that'll match with Arkansas CTE, where a kid when they get done with high school can go right into the AI workforce starting 70, 80, $90,000 working in software, working at AI, and it's Google has the curriculum. So what better partner would you have for them to provide that? And they're providing the instructor. So we're starting with our ninth grade. We got 25 kids, ninth graders that want to do this. So we're going to cohort this, and so really excited about that. That's a big deal. And also, they're partnered with a company called Code Crew. There may be some listeners that are familiar with Code Crew that's based out of Memphis, and they really target underprivileged kids, kids in demographics areas or shortage areas. They give them opportunities to technology to learn how to code, to have access to, software, all those things. So we had a summer school, and it wasn't a summer school; it was an enrichment. And so we had Kenny, we had almost 500 kids total in our summer school. And if you had junior high and high school, but elementary, I think we had around 300. Where what they did, they got exposed to robots. They got exposed to all the way up. So we're trying to creating the demand again, right, for kids to interest
Sure.
in to that kind of world because that's the world today. I mean, it just you have to have some AI skills if you want to be. I don't care outside your manual labor. Even then, I think you have to have some AI skills, just basic. And then if you want to get into that world, there's an opportunity here at West Memphis.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and that you just opened the door for me there, because I think that there are quite a few families that, looking for a place to call home, maybe moving
Yeah.
for this reason or that reason, and parents, guardians, students that are hearing this may be excited and like, "Hey, I wanna check that out." So where can they go to learn more about your district?
So, yeah, so West Memphis has their own website, city website. This is a community that's about ready to boom. And I'll be frank, it's kind of had a black eye with some things because we're so close to Memphis. We have we're the stepchild of Memphis. Uh, but over the last 2, 3 years, we have a brand new aquatics park. We have a softball. I mean, we have complexes here. We're getting ready to build a new high school. There's so much going on in this community. We've got Google here. There's going to be a nuclear power plant going to be coming soon. And once you have that power, then there's going to be not only companies here, but jobs. So
Yeah.
I can't share the name, but we are in the finalists for a 4,000 job opportunity for auto industry. We're in the final two. It'll be one of the largest employers in the Southeast. So, we have Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is literally a mile from us, and it's the largest bottling distributor in the Southeast. So we have a lot here, and it's a good place. It's a really good place.
Yeah, okay, and so I'm guessing just go to the website and they can learn.
I think it's westmemphis.org for the city, but our website, the school district, is www.wmsd.net. So it's
Okay,
dot net. So, but anymore in the world, you just Google us. But
true.
we are very active on social media. You could follow us. We did some funny videos. You'll see me do some funny videos. I sledded down an ice pile. For those of the southeast, we had the two-week ice storm this past year. We did some fun stuff with that, and that kind of started some of our Power of 10. And we actually had kids at home during that night. We lost 9 days of school. They sent in videos of the work they were doing at home for the Power of 10. So, yeah, it was awesome. It was good.
That is really awesome. Okay, Superintendent Foister, last but certainly not least, I wanna give you an opportunity to shout out to or express your gratitude to recognize someone who's had a positive impact on your life as an educator.
The list is on and on. So, um, Probably he's my dad. So, with Father's Day being a few weeks ago, my dad's 85. So, my dad was never in the education world, started in the education world, but back then he couldn't afford it. So he went and started working in the auto industry just to raise me with my mom. So, but so much just the understanding the importance of education and how you can never get enough of it. It'll always come back to help you. I tell the story. I was a coach, then I taught. I didn't have my master's, so but I had a teacher, I had the principal come up to me and say, "Hey, we'd like for you to do some inclusion with your sped kids." I'm like, "No, no." I wanted the kids. I didn't want another teacher in my room. Well, that principal says, "No, you will do inclusion." So I did. Best thing I ever did in my life. I learned more from that teacher than I ever could have. I didn't go through a traditional thing. So then I went and got my master's in special ed. And then I started working as special ed where I was that was my first administrative job was special ed. And I worked with I was in Clarksville, Montgomery County. I taught every gen ed teacher and sped teacher in the secondary in Clarksville, Montgomery County. We had 35,000 students. So we had nine. I mean, but I worked with, hey, look, I was one of those people. So let me show you how it really should work. Let me tell you the best practices. Let me show you this. So, and then they asked me, "Hey, you need to get your, your administrator's license." My dad taught me that the more educated you are, the more opportunities you have. Even when you don't think it's going to open up, it'll open up. That master's special ed opened up doors for me I never thought I'd go through. In my specialist, I tell this story real quick too. So I was a principal. And we got a new superintendent. And after a year, he comes to me and goes, "Hey, what's your plans?" I'm whatever the next challenge is. I mean, I really didn't. He goes,
Yeah.
he says, "Do you have your superintendent's license?" I'm like, "I don't know if I did or didn't," because I did, but I have my specialist degree, and sure enough, and and that's how I became an assistant superintendent right there. So no idea I'd ever be where I'm at today. So
That's
thank
awesome. And your dad's name?
Frank Foister.
Frank Foister. This is look at the difference you've made through the work. Your encouragement, your inspiration, your the knowledge, the passion you've put onto your son to learn more and through his work and all
Yep,
the
I'm
kiddos
thankful.
he's served. Yeah.
I'm very thankful, very blessed.
Eric, thank you so much for being on the show. It was
Thank
great to
you.
have you. That's
Yeah,
a
thank
wrap,
you.
everyone. Till next time. Thank you for joining us on Unlock 360. If this conversation sparked new thinking, share it with a colleague and keep the dialogue going in your school district. Public education is complex work, and progress happens when leadership and teaching move together. I'm Wendy York Davoud. Until next time, keep building the systems that unlock what's possible because strong leadership drives deeper learning.